All right, everybody, welcome. It is Tuesday. My name is Nick Reed, and this is a show. Slight chance of rain today. That first alert forecast coming up here in just a bit. Yesterday was a contest that we launched at ksgf.com, but it wasn't launched correctly, so I didn't talk about it. And today, I don't even know what the prize is. We're told it's an awesome prize to give you. I'm sure it's a gift card of some sort. But listen, the contest itself is just, I think it's fun. It's something that Sarah put together. Correct? You put this together.
Don't throw me under the bus. What if they don't like it?
No. We did this time last year a bracket. Radio stations, it's March Madness, and so you know, all these different brackets. And what was our bracket last year? Do you remember?
Trump nicknames.
Oh, that's right. There were nicknames that Trump had given different people during the course of his. I guess it was as he was running for president during his presidency. And you would go through, and every week you would pick, I like this one. And if I recall correctly, every week that you participated was an entry, and that's how it is going to operate this time as well. I know that's how I was told before. Instead, however, of Trump nicknames, we have Biden quotes, and the audio is there for you to hear. Frankly, because some of the words I wouldn't know how to spell because they aren't even words that he at times is known to use, just gibberish talk. And so it's the actual audio. If you go to ksgf.com and you find the Biden bad Biden quotes, which I actually think they're brilliant quotes of President Biden, and you can listen to each one that he's made over. I don't think these aren't confined to his presidency, are they? No. Yeah, that's right. I recall some in particular from back, I think, when he was a U.S. Senator, maybe. But most of them are from his run for the presidency, his occupation of the White House, and then you go through and you pick. And then it'll get narrowed down, and every week that you participate is an entry you get into what is described as an incredible prize from Pyramid Roofing Company. I don't know what that prize is. It doesn't tell me for whatever reason. I say it. I've got this screen I log into, and then our promotions department, they plug in the information so that I know exactly what's going on. This isn't one of those instances where I know exactly what's going on because it says an incredible I'm guessing it's probably a gift card of some sort for an amount that I'm not sure of. But this goes on for 3 weeks because it's got the different brackets. We have plenty of time for you to learn. So if you do want to participate and hear some of those Biden quotes, some you may recall, some will be fun memories for you. Some may be quotes that you haven't heard before somehow, because Lord knows there are a lot. And that way you can vote, and in the end we'll find out. Now, I should note also the winner is not going to win based off of the winning of the bracket. Every week that you participate is an entry, and then a winner will be randomly chosen. So it's your participation that makes you eligible for the win. So if you go to ksgf.com, the scrolling tiles up front, the bad Biden quotes, just click on it, and then you can go from there. It's that easy. We are in the 7 o'clock hour today. I'm going to play some audio from last week's Springfield Public School Board meeting. While away on the Great Escape, I noted that there was a movement afoot. There was a proactive political movement afoot, a coordination between the elites in the Springfield area, from MSU to the elites within the Springfield Public School System, the NAACP, and they are very, very, very fearful that the upcoming school board election is going to be a continuation of what has been occurring over the last several years, not just across the country, but in Springfield, and that is, God forbid, citizens having a say in children's education of the community, and children of the community's education, I should say. School board, recognizing that the school board is not beholden or should not be beholden to the elites. The school board is supposed to be occupied by representatives of the community that then tells the school district as a community, this is the direction we want the district to go. This is our community. This is our school. These are our children. And this is how we want things to go. This is how we want things to be run. This, in fact, the founders envisioned it this way. This is not some new idea. Thomas Jefferson was very, very specific, all the way down to writing about the breakdown of how it would be that these schools would be run in terms of the school boards and the communities making these decisions. They are very, very, very concerned that they're going to lose control. The last round of elections for the Springfield Public School District saw just that occur. Drury University lost their representative. And that's what these school boards have been made up of. Yeah, you have the instead of representatives of the community, of the parents, you have representatives of the elites. You've got somebody that is the anointed one from the teachers' unions. Somebody currently sits there from MSU. There was somebody that sat on there from Drury. Now the people said enough of that in the last election, and now MSU is frantically afraid they are going to lose their extension on that school board, hence the coordinated attacks on Dr. M. We are in the 7 o'clock hour going to talk a bit about that. We're going to play some audio from the school board meeting in which they went on attack and voted her out along essentially citizen versus elite lines, not party lines so much, but it's the elites, the anti-parent elites, and then the community vote on that school board to remove her as vice president of the board. And we'll play some of the audio of her explanation as to what occurred at that event in which they pulled students from classes, took them over to MSU for indoctrination, political indoctrination. Also, last night began the coverage of the presentation of some of the January 6th footage. Tucker Carlson on Fox News revealing what it is that Democrats have tried desperately to keep hidden from the public, and that is footage, all of the footage, from the Capitol on January 6th. And some amazing things already have been revealed. One of them involves Josh Hawley, incidentally, our U.S. Senator, one of the two. The shaman that we all have become so familiar with, the horn hat-wearing shaman, and the video that just appeared, that was selectively edited by the Democrats and released to show him as this crazed danger and leading the chaos, and the amount of footage there is in which law enforcement are escorting him, not escorting him to a holding cell, not escorting him to a law enforcement vehicle while in handcuffs, but essentially acting as tour guides for him through the U.S. Capitol. In one instance, you could see them trying to open a door for him that is locked. It's almost as if they were facilitating the events of January 6th. It's becoming very, very clear, and most of us recognize this, why it is that Democrats want this footage hidden. Jason Reimer with the latest news update. The first alert forecast, mostly cloudy today. A slight chance of rain, a high of 56 rain tonight, 42 rain likely tomorrow, 48 rain on Thursday with a high of 54. Then mostly sunny for Friday. Our happy hour day at Retro Metro 4 to 6 with a high of 52. Look at Sarah Myers.
Hey, that's me. Well, we have tons of rain in the forecast, which means that there are chances that some of you may have some yellowing on your ceiling, or maybe you have noticed some slight drips. And if that is the case, I highly recommend my friends over at the Pyramid Roofing Company. They can come out, take a look at your roof, and see exactly what is going on as it is raining. I mean, you don't want that to happen. Your house is your biggest investment, so you need to take the best care of it that you possibly can. So give Josh and the Pyramid Roofing Company a call today, and maybe you don't need a whole new roof. Maybe you need just a roof repair. Either way, the Pyramid Roofing Company, they have got you covered. You can find all of the contact information for Josh and the Pyramid Roofing Company at ksgf.com under the Sarah's Endorsements tab.
Tucker Carlson releasing January 6th footage raises new questions. Questions that thinking people have been asking for some time. And what we are learning is that this footage is further evidence that what occurred on January 6th appears to have been facilitated by our government. The vast majority of the activity on January 6th did not fulfill that purpose. So you've got the Capitol, you have all of these people, and the behavior of some of those in law enforcement that is observed in the released footage appears to demonstrate that they were very accommodating, very welcoming, and facilitating the entry into the Capitol by some of these individuals that would be presented as the most dangerous actors in the attack on our great country. Even at that, of all of the people that were in and around the Capitol on January 6th. It was a very, very, again, this is what we see in the footage, a very, very, very small portion of the people that were doing anything that was out of line in terms of any sort of violence and any sort of vandalism. The two components here that appear to be most significant, one is, again, the law enforcement that we are seeing in the released footage that Democrats have kept hidden while they controlled Congress, law enforcement facilitating some of these actions, and then the January 6th committee taking out of the 40,000 plus hours of footage a extremely minuscule portion of it that they edited in order to make it appear as if January 6th were an event in which, completely unaided by law enforcement doing everything they could to stop it, you had a violent mob, the vast majority of the people there, a violent mob that stormed the Capitol. They edited this is what tyrannical regimes do. This is called propaganda. This is state-produced, state-directed, state-edited propaganda that was used and has been used to demonize anyone who speaks out against the current power structure in Washington, D.C. This isn't a new idea. This is not some new brilliant approach developed by the minds of the Nancy Pelosi's and the Joe Bidens and the behind-the-scene Democrat activists. This has been done over and over and over again by tyrannical regimes. It's just really come to a peak here in the United States of America. Tucker Carlson released the footage after being given the exclusive access by House Speaker McCarthy to 40,000 hours of video from that day. Carlson noted virtually every moment of his time inside the Capitol was caught on tape. He's talking about Jacob Chansley specifically in one of the segments, otherwise known as the QAnon shaman, the guy with the horn hat, Viking hat. The tapes show, as Carlson noted, the Capitol Police never stopped Jacob Chansley. In fact, they helped him. They acted as his tour guide. I will get this video up. You can watch it yourself. Now, I want you to recognize this in the context of the way that Joe Biden and Democrats have described the QAnon shaman as an individual that was leading the single largest, most dangerous attack on our country. Worse than 9/11. Worse than Pearl Harbor. The President of the United States has made these claims. Yet this individual that led this charge that has been memorialized, an event that Democrats hold ceremonies on the anniversary of. This person brought us that close to the brink of our entire nation crumbling down, yet law enforcement not only did not stop him from doing it, according to the footage that has now been revealed, but they helped facilitate. In fact, part of the video that has been hidden by Democrats all this time shows the shaman in the Capitol, and he's talking. And in it, he's offering a prayer or something, and he mentions the brave law enforcement that stood with him and helped protect him as he made his way through the Capitol, because that's what he was experiencing. Tucker Carlson noted that, quote, no one, not one of them, even tried to slow him down, noting that Chansley, quote, understood the Capitol Police were his allies. In the footage, you will see there were two in particular that were acting as his guides or following. At one point, they're side by side with him. Sometimes they're trailing him. At one point, they walk ahead of him, trying to open doors for him. At one point, he, along with them, walks through what looks like about 5 or 6 other members of law enforcement, and they're all just standing around chatting. All of this is why Democrats have been covering this up. It is also why the Democrats in the media have been trying to paint the release of this information to Tucker Carlson as simply political and dangerous, and how this is something you shouldn't even watch this. In fact, if you do observe this, you too could also become a danger to the United States of America. Carlson also released footage of Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick that was taken, quote, after the officer was supposedly murdered by the mob outside. You may recall the media, including local media, still to this day claims that like 5 or 6 people in law enforcement died on that day. One of the officers specifically that they have used his death as sort of the lead example of the violence on that day. On the day that the New York Times claimed that he was killed, struck in the head, and this story was carried on, that he was beaten with a fire extinguisher to death. Well, amazingly enough, after that supposedly happened, according to the mainstream media that is so accurate and also helps us not get misinformed, claimed he had already been dead. Yet here we're watching him walk around. No injuries whatsoever. The new footage shows Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick walking around the U.S. Capitol after the media claimed he was killed outside the building after being hit in the head with a fire extinguisher. The U.S. Capitol Police had released a statement April 19th of 2021 saying that the District of Columbia's Office of Chief Medical Examiner admitted that the death of Sicknick was one of natural causes. Carlson also noted the video evidence shows Ray Epps, the man whose presence at the Capitol riot has raised question, lied under oath when he told reporters he was at his hotel when he texted his nephew that he orchestrated the protest at the Capitol. Now, we've got to take a break. It'll give you some more information. Plus, I'm going to play audio of his segment referencing Josh Hawley. And Josh Hawley, of course, U.S. Senator, Missouri. The Democrats, again, selectively edited footage to make it look as if Josh Hawley was by himself while others were bravely facing the crowd or held up somewhere, that Josh Hawley was by himself running away. He was the lone, frightened little boy that was running away from the very insurrectionists that he encouraged. And it turns out, of course, and they did this to try and humiliate him. It turns out that was also edited to give people the false impression about what was occurring. More on this, the American Transmissions Talk and Text Line 447-KSGF. I'm Nick Reed.
dangerous conspiracy theorist dressed in outlandish costume who
Have a traffic update standing by. First, wanted to rapidly read off some of your American Transmissions talk and text line messages regarding the unveiling of some of the January 6th footage that Democrats have kept hidden for the last couple of years. One of your text messages noting the most touching part of the January 6th stuff is the shaman actually got up there and prayed and thanked the Capitol police officers during the occurrence. This is, of course, what we learn in the footage, that not only did they not try and stop him, but the footage revealed they were escorting him around, trying to open locked doors for him, apparently just casually chatting with him. Another noting, so this was actually just an unscheduled tour. Another text, the Nazi Party burned a government building and blamed it on their opposition party before Hitler was elected. And a notation that Pelosi should be charged with inciting an insurrection. It is all on her. Floors Plus Nix at Floors Plus Springfield. All of your flooring needs, luxury vinyl planking, carpeting, yes, tile, hardwood floor. Backsplashes, that's the plus of Floors Plus, customized tiling. They can do a lot, and they do a great job at it. Take a lot of pride in their crews. Not high turnover like so many other places. There are a lot of home improvement entities, businesses that obviously they have to have crews, and it's just they want to get the jobs done as fast as possible. And if somebody comes in off the street, okay, we'll give you a shot, and there's very high turnover. Floors Plus spent a lot of time being very deliberate, and so they weren't necessarily able. In fact, they waited to start advertising with us a couple of years to make sure that they had good, strong, solid crews in place. That way they would be able to provide you the best service possible. Floors Plus Nixa and Springfield. You can find them under Nick's endorsements, ksgf.com. First alert forecast, mostly cloudy. Slight chance of rain today, high of 56. Rain tonight, 42. Rain likely 48 tomorrow. And Thursday rain with a high of 54. We are on Facebook Live. Do we have YouTube also running? Okay. And so this will also be on, it's the same thing that shows on both, right? All right. we're talking about some of the footage that the Democrats, while in control of Congress, kept hidden from the public, other than what they selectively edited, as we're learning, to mislead the public. This is very, very common government propaganda. Our government is not the first one to have done it. Generally, it's been governments that we've been at war with, that we have been enemies with, governments that, we were the freedom side and they're the bad tyranny side and socialist side, communist side. But as we now have a government run by people of that same mindset, they operate in the same fashion. The selected footage that was released showed the so-called QAnon shaman as this dangerous, crazed figure storming the Capitol, when in fact what we've learned in the footage released is that he was getting a private escort through. Not to a jail cell, not to a paddy wagon, but around the Capitol. He could know the layout of it. The day of January 6th, the tour being given by law enforcement. They tried to open locked doors for him. At one point, he offers up thanks to those in law enforcement who were brave enough to help him make his way through the Capitol. You can see that footage that Tucker Carlson, Sarah, of course, we've got it on social media. You can find it in places that that it doesn't get banned, but our Facebook Live, you can see the visuals of it there, and also on our YouTube stream. Ray Epps is an individual that has long been clear to so many people. Somebody that in some capacity was working on behalf of some division of our government. He was seen in early video taken by Trump supporters trying to talk Trump supporters into storming the Capitol, while the Trump supporters were saying, "No, are you out of your mind? We cannot do that." At one point, he texted his nephew that he orchestrated the protest at the Capitol. Many Americans found it quite unusual that he dropped off of the FBI's list of wanted insurrectionists, given the fact that he actually was on tape doing what it is that they claimed was the great sin, yet for some reason they had no interest in him. People kept pressing and pressing and pressing, saying, where is this guy? Why is it the FBI has no interest in him? Finally, they had to address it, and they claimed, well, he said he was sorry, and he didn't mean anything by it. Oh, that's what it takes? Really? Because I know some people right here in the Springfield area that would have loved to have gotten that sweet deal. Ray Epps would testify that he was in his hotel room at the time he texted his nephew that he orchestrated the attack, but Carlson presented the video evidence that showed Ray Epps lied under oath when he told investigators he was at his hotel when he texted his nephew that he orchestrated the protest at the Capitol, because in fact he's in the videos in the Capitol. Carlson noting, quote, the surveillance footage we found shows that in fact Ray Epps remained at the Capitol for at least another half an hour. What was Epps doing there? We can't say, but we do know that he lied to investigators. Ray Epps lied in his sworn testimony to the January 6th committee because that's what he was supposed to do. Some of the footage that was also selectively released was regarding Josh Hawley. And it was done largely to humiliate him, to try and humiliate him. It was released making him appear as if he was just frantically by himself running through the Capitol like a scared little schoolgirl from the very people that he encouraged. This is a quick segment Tucker Carlson has regarding that footage. Just a moment.
When the committee wasn't accusing Republican office holders of planning riots on January 6th, it was accusing them of running away from those riots like cowards. In the case of Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri, the committee and their allies accused him of both.
Josh Hawley is a
To prove that Josh Hawley was a coward, the committee released video of him loping out of the building on the afternoon of January 6th with a police escort. The tape became a staple on social media. Democrats laughed with derision.
Later that day, Senator Hawley fled after those protesters he helped to rile up stormed the Capitol. See for yourself.
I want to pause it there for a moment. This was during a hearing. This was a Democrat congresswoman that showed the edited video to mislead people into believing something that was occurring that wasn't. And you heard the room filled with Democrats laughing. Again, we're told that they really genuinely believe this was one of the single most dangerous attacks on our country ever. Members of the January 6th committee, when cameras were on them during prime time, had to hold back tears. Ocasio-Cortez claimed that, like someone in actual war, she suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. There was one Democrat member of Congress that was donating the suit he wore that day to the Smithsonian so that he could contribute to making sure that this was a day Americans never forgot. That's how serious it was. That's how close we came to losing our democracy. Yet here they are laughing. Here they are chuckling at what should be this horrific reflection, should it not, of how serious things were. After all, it was edited to make it appear as if things were so serious in that moment. Josh Hawley was frantically running to save himself. They think that's funny? Given that they compare this to 9/11, do they also think it's funny when they watch people jump from the Twin Towers? Do they also think it's hilarious? Do they chuckle when they hear the 911 calls of people on those planes calling their loved ones, or people up in the Twin Towers calling their wives, their husband, their children to say their last goodbye? Do they think that's funny? Because we're told these are essentially one and the same, these two events. This is all propaganda. Their own behavior demonstrates even they know that in reality, this is not what they presented. That's why instead of a room full of people that are Democrats, if they really genuinely believed all of this was as serious as they said, when they saw that footage, they would have gasped in horror. But instead, they chuckled. They laughed.
But in fact, the surveillance footage we reviewed shows that famous clip was a sham, edited deceptively by the January 6th committee. The clip was propaganda, not evidence. The actual videotape shows that Hawley was one of many lawmakers being ushered out of the building by Capitol Hill police officers. And in fact, Hawley was at the back of the pack. The coward tape was a lie, one of many from the January 6th committee.
And again, why Democrats in Congress, in the White House, and in the media have done everything they can to prevent you from seeing the footage that reveals, essentially behind the scenes, what's going on, the directing of it, the producing of it, the making of the sausage, if you will. What's interesting about this, however, is we find that the making of the sausage, the behind-the-scenes stuff, really wasn't the bad part. They had to edit it to make it look as if the whole instance was something bad and ugly beyond what it actually was. That isn't dismissing those who allowed themselves to be encouraged by those in law enforcement that were ushering them in. Individuals that committed acts of vandalism, acts of violence. Unfortunately, I will say, of the 40,000 hours of footage, there is none of Ashley Babbitt, the one individual who was unarmed, very small in stature, being shot by a police officer that, according to all reports, was in no way, shape, or form in danger. The one person. That footage doesn't exist. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. Garage Experts, the #1 brand nationwide in the garage improvement space. The 3 Ps, people, product, process. They are craftsmen. As I mentioned earlier with Floors Plus, there's a very common theme with those home improvement companies that I personally talk to you about, and that is very low turnover. These are good people to work for, and they are very deliberate in seeking out good people who are very good at what they do. This is why there's not a high amount of turnover, and you benefit from it, and Garage Experts is absolutely no exception in that. In fact, Mark and Shelley, they're both perfectionists just in their lives, and you see that in the business as well. For all of your garage improvement needs, we're talking about the highest level epoxy flooring, the process to put it down, hundreds of colors from which you can choose, and customized storage. My transformation video is on my Facebook page, 1041 Nick Reed, and you can see me have a chat with Mark and Shelley under Nick's endorsements at ksgf.com for Garage Experts. Doobie Brothers coming to town. You're going to see this, aren't you? You're a big fan. You love them Doobie Brothers.
Yeah, I'm
Doobie
excited.
Brothers.
All right.
I don't. Sometimes I just make noises.
I know. Now tell people how they can register to win tickets.
Go to ksgf.com. Oh, no, wait, never mind. Well, you can go there to get more information.
Yes.
Text the word brothers to the American Transmissions Talk and Text line, which is area code 417-447-KSGF. Text the word brothers. If you are successful, it will shoot you back a message telling you, good job, you did it. Not those exact words. If you win, then you're going to get a pair of tickets. The Doobie Brothers are going to be at the Great Southern Bank Arena Thursday, June 15th. Some of you may want to go ahead and take Friday, June 16th off from work. Details about that at ksgf.com. Department of Homeland Security has paused a domestic intelligence program last year over concerns it may run afoul of America's civil liberties. Because for some reason now they care. The DHS Office of Intelligence and Analysis, one of 18 government offices and agencies that make up the U.S. Intelligence Committee, that in and of itself, folks, I'm telling you, 9/11 put us on a trajectory that I don't know that if we can ever roll back from it, it's going to be because of some dramatic event, perhaps. But what I fear is any sort of dramatic event is just going to make things worse. One of 18 government offices and agencies that make up the U.S. Intelligence Committee or community spying on us. We live in a police state. And just how casually these descriptions are thrown around. Well, it's one of 18 government offices that does spying on, I mean, it's just one of 18. These are the ones that they admit we know about. Well, this particular office, the Office of Intelligence and Analysis, oversees the, quote, overt human intelligence collection program. As part of its intelligence gathering operation, it allows the INA to interview almost anyone in the United States, according to internal DHS documents reviewed by Politico. Part of the INA program was put on hold last year as concerns grew within the department that it could lead to violations of the rights of interviewees who are currently incarcerated, out of prison, on parole, or otherwise in a sensitive position regarding authorities. Some employees concerned about the legally gray area they operated in asked about government-covered legal liability insurance. Others worried about raising internal concerns about INA or blowing the whistle on aspects of the agency they felt violated the Constitution. According to an April 2021 document reviewed by Politico, one unnamed employee said the leadership of the INA's Office of Regional Intelligence, quote, is shady and, quote, runs like a corrupt government. Well, if the suit fits. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. There's been some coverage of this coordinated domestic terrorist attack, though some of the individuals arrested aren't even from the United States, or somebody from France or someone from Canada, on what has been dubbed Cop City. This is the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center that's been under construction. There's all sorts of video of this. It's pretty amazing to watch. It's violent in nature, clearly. The terrorists are dressed in these sort of fatigues of types, if you will. I mean, it's clearly coordinated and prepared. The White House yesterday, when asked about this, didn't know anything about it. Did not know anything about it. One of the individuals that has been charged and is facing terrorism charges is an attorney with the Southern Poverty Law Center. Authorities identified Thomas Webb Juergens, 28, as one of the 23 people arrested during the coordinated attack on the facility, during which demonstrators threw incendiaries at the construction site, according to the New York Post. Juergens is a staff attorney for the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is a left-wing organization that is used by media outlets quite frequently to identify hate groups on the right. The FBI has even acknowledged that they use the direction of the Southern Poverty Law Center. I've seen the Springfield News Leader cite the Southern Poverty Law Center when they want to validate their description of some conservative organization as being a domestic terrorist group or a, quote, hate group. Their list that they put out was used by a terrorist that went to a conservative political action organization with a gun and bags of Chick-fil-A with an attempt to try and assassinate everyone. They're saying, yeah, I got my list from the Southern Poverty Law Center. And now one of their own attorneys was part of a coordinated terrorist attack. I wonder if the media outlets will discontinue the use of the Southern Poverty Law Center as an expert when it comes to right-wing hate groups. I suspect they won't. Even though one of their own is involved in an actual terrorist attack. News coming up in 60 seconds. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. We got a happy hour coming up on Friday, Retro Metro. If you've not been, I definitely recommend that you stop by either for lunch, for dinner, for drinks. And of course, we'd love for you to join us for a happy hour this Friday, 4 to 6. Come and go as you please. It's a social hour. It's just to hang out. You can have open conversations. Of course, you don't have to talk politics. I think sometimes people think, well, it's a station where much of the conversation surrounds politics, and so we're just going to have a sit-down, softly spoken conversation about world events. You can if you want. You don't have to. The great thing about it, however, is that we, as I think I speak for most of you, knowing you, people who attend these events, are intellectually curious individuals that are self-assured enough that other people's opinions aren't scary. Other people having thoughts that are different from yours don't scare you and trigger you. The upside of that is you don't have to worry about what you talk about. You don't have to worry about somebody hearing something and they've been cultivated as this fragile triggering mechanism that they then look you up on social media, find where you work, contact your employer, and accuse you of whatever it is that they're going to accuse you of. You don't have to worry about it. It's free. This is what we find at these events, which is just nice. It's a nice thing. So we'll be at Retro Metro, and that will be this Friday, 4 to 6. We have Lunch Bunch there on Wednesdays if you want to register for that. This is something that we draw a winner. If it's you, then you and up to 5 of people of your choosing will join Sarah and me for lunch at Retro Metro on a Wednesday. The left-wing establishment in the Springfield area is very, very, very concerned that the school board is going to potentially have a majority of members that are made up of the community instead of their hand-picked individuals. The left has made tremendous strides in this country, all over this country, because of a lack of attention paid by parents and citizens regarding school boards. If there was any benefit to the government's reaction to COVID, it was the revelation to so many Americans that the public schools are being used largely not to actually educate children, but to turn them into political activists, to turn them into social activists, which are essentially one and the same any longer. They should not be, but unfortunately they are. That combined with the misstep of the Biden administration of declaring parents that showed up at school board meetings and dared ask questions, the declaration of those individuals as potential domestic terrorists. All of these things have awakened Americans across the country, and the people of Springfield, or within the Springfield Public School District, are no different. And they have responded like so many other parents, and not even parents, but just citizens who care about the children's future within their community. And that is to start getting rid of those individuals that are utilizing the schools to turn young people into political social activists, for the left, of course. And in many ways, currently, because of the last couple of elections, really, the last one being a real message, there is now a divided school board between the community and the elites. And the elites are desperately fearful that the upcoming election is going to reflect the last. And they are desperately fearful that what occurred during the last election was not an anomaly, but in fact may be a turning of the tide. The week before last, there was an event that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. I've talked about it. The news leader has had story. I'm sure some of the news outlets have as well. And in a nutshell, what occurred was one of the indoctrination events in which students were actually taken out of the school to MSU, along with the NAACP, in order to have one of these indoctrination days. What they did not count on was Dr. Miriam Muhammad Dakhani, who is a school board member and a parent, being in the audience. Once that was realized, they panicked. And the coordinated effort with the news leader began. They panicked because we are weeks away from the upcoming election. They already recognize that many people within the Springfield School District who will have a vote coming up in April are in the process of taking the reins away from the elites who indoctrinate the kids and giving it back to the community with the goal of actually educating children. Recognizing that that is a trend that they were hoping they could push back against, their fear was that Dr. M would act as a whistleblower and go public with what she witnessed. And that would refuel any, sometimes people, time goes by, you lose the fire in the belly, you lose the interest in these things that are going on. And so the hope was that whatever was angering the public enough to get two of the elites off the school board and put just average citizens looking out for kids and their education on the school board 2 years ago, that was not something that was going to repeat itself. Or was that last year? Was that 2 years ago already?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. Maybe?
It seems like, anyhow, last election. So they panicked. That the timing of this for them could not have been worse. I can only imagine the text messages, the phone calls, the conference calls, the frantic communication with Claudette Riley at the news leader in order to frame this. We got to get a story out. We have to frame this. And how is it they're going to frame this? That this isn't some event that you need to concern yourself with. The problem here isn't the indoctrination of your kids. The problem isn't taking kids out of school, removing them from an atmosphere in which they could be learning about science, they could be learning about the languages, they could be learning about history, and instead politically indoctrinating them. That's not the problem. The problem is this pesky member of the school board who is a disruptor, who triggers these children that are now victims because of what she did. And it is a full court press. You've got letters being sent to the Springfield School Board and the superintendent signed by Cliff Smart, president of MSU, who is hosting this political indoctrination of children. C.J. Davis, president and CEO of Burrell Behavioral Health. And the news leader acting as the megaphone to set the narrative in all of this. We're going to play some audio coming up of the school board meeting in which they are addressing Dr. M. What a problem she is. One of the observations that I had, and I think that you will as well, and I'd like you to at least notice, which is why I'm pointing it out, is the allegation that Dr. M makes that the students were blatantly being lied to, aren't denied. They're not denying it. And I suspect they're not denying it because they know or fear that perhaps there's footage or that there are ways to prove what she said is true. So they're trying to distract and claim that her way of trying to make sure the students understood the truth, make sure that the students knew that they were being lied to, was triggering to them, making them victims in an atmosphere in which they already were so sensitive. She's essentially a child abuser. We thought the last round of school board elections were significant and important, and they were. Very much so. I'm telling you, it is so apparent and on display how frantically, how desperately scared that they are going to lose further control over the ability to take kids out of school. When not in school, indoctrinating them into being political and social activists. Jason Rima with the latest news update. First alert forecast cloudy, slight chance of rain 56 today, rain likely tonight, low of 42, rain likely tomorrow 48. Thursday rain, high of 54. We're on Facebook Live. That's 1041 Nick Reed. Also, our YouTube streaming channel. I'm going to play audio of the Springfield Public School Board meeting from last week, in which it essentially resulted in Dr. M being removed as vice president of the school board. And this is all surrounding a narrative that's being created by the establishment, who are desperately afraid that the upcoming election will continue the trend of parents taking back the schools. And I'm going to play through it. You're going to hear a discussion of the school board in which they are allowing her an opportunity to explain what happened, to give her side of the story.
I am curious if the other board member who was present in the room wanted to give any context about what occurred.
Thank you. I'm really troubled that no one has reached out to me. This is the first I'm hearing of this. You have my cell phone numbers, you have my email, you certainly know how to get a hold of me. And I feel that as a duly elected member of this body, I deserve that. What you are you are seeking a public shaming without due course, Scott. And that speaks to the dysfunction of this board. And I've spoken on this before, this culture of groupthink. So I find myself before this mob, and all I can ask for you are the facts. I notified, let me give a preamble. I am very involved in the last 2 weeks. I try to hit as many events as I can. I've had 6 school visits, gone to the PTA clothing bank, I went to the wellness committee. I just try to see as much as I can and open my eyes and listen and see and just be there for everyone and to show my support. I never know how my schedule is going to work out. The day before, when I saw that I was able to attend this event that I knew was happening, I was not aware that this was an SPS event. This is a collaborative effort, and I called by telephone the organizer of the event. This was not on SPS property, and it was not an SPS event. It was not run by SPS. It was run by the group organizer that was on the flyer. I called this individual, and I notified her that I would be attending. I introduced myself, and I asked her where to go because I didn't know where it was going to be. I had just seen the flyer on one of my school visits. So, just to recap, this is the Youth Empowerment Summit. There was a session 1 that was titled Elevating Black Excellence. It was moderated by the Springfield DI officers. Afterwards, I peeked into session 2. These are breakout sessions and they were broken out by student grade level. So we had freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. I peeked into session 2, which was for the high school seniors, and it was titled Taking Care of Your Brain Health. And it was moderated by a Borough Health employee. The first slide I saw was titled The Trauma Brain. The next slide was titled Racial Trauma. I then slipped through the back door to stand at the very back of the room. The moderator was asking the students to close their eyes and raise their hands if they felt that at some point they had experienced the sort of trauma that she had just described. Approximately 10 students, or about, give or take, 20-25% of the students raised their hands. The moderator then asked them to put down their hands and open their eyes. She said, and I quote, "I want you all to know that every single person in this room raised their hand, because this is real." I raised my hand and I waited. Dr. Thomas Tate asked if this could be experienced indirectly or by watching a video? And the moderator answered, absolutely, and she then said a few words. The moderator then called on me by saying, yes. I replied, only about 10 people raised their hand. Those are the only 7 words I spoke after I was given permission to speak. The moderator replied, okay, thank you, I'll make note of that next time. She then followed with, I'm glad you had your eyes open while everybody else had theirs closed. I left the room and texted the superintendent right away, but I never heard back. The following morning, I called the board president, who later texted me back to express that she would not have time to connect with me until Monday. Meanwhile, I responded to a call and subsequent text from Claudette Riley of the News Leader with allegations that I had interrupted a session on trauma to raise objections about what was being discussed. Since I had not spoken out of turn, and neither had I objected to the topic, I indicated that her information was incorrect and that I could not discuss it further without speaking with my superintendent. Thought I was following protocol. The board president's statement was issued without contacting me. The News Leader article was subsequently published, including the heinous accusations levied on my character. Those are the facts. I didn't create that scene. That wasn't my scene. I didn't choose. I wasn't the one who lied to teenagers to protect an agenda. I merely pointed out the truth when it was my turn to speak and when I was given permission to speak. Because I felt that it is simply wrong to emotionally and psychologically manipulate and deprecate the students who didn't raise their hands at that moment. And I felt that it was especially egregious when it was being perpetrated under the guise of mental health. I will continue to speak the truth whenever it's necessary to protect children from whatever the hustlers are peddling.
All right, so we're going to pause there because we do have to take a commercial break, and then we'll continue on, including some back and forth. What she's explaining, it's straightforward and simple, and it's very clear why it is. That school board member Sharita Thomas Tate, that president of MSU Cliff Smart, president of and CEO of Burrell Behavioral Health CJ Davis, why they were so upset, because she revealed that these children were being manipulated and lied to. And clearly that is something that CJ Davis and Cliff Smart and these others want to occur. Because instead of being outraged upon learning it, now, of course, the manipulation and lying, current school board member who is up for re-election, Sharita Thomas Tate, was part of it. She was actively part of it. But the others, upon learning this, they did not express outrage. They expressed outrage at her for blowing the whistle. They're helping lead a coordinated attack on her. It should be noted that, as Dr. M noted, that she immediately was attempting to get a hold of the superintendent to inform her what was going on. The president of the school board, who didn't have any time, but boy, somebody had time to call Claudette Riley at the News Leader, because almost immediately she's calling up Dr. M saying, I heard that you interrupted this moment of meditation with these kids. Who do you think called the News Leader and created that narrative? I'd be interested to know. More audio from the school board meeting coming up. American Transmissions talk and text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed. course you want a great home loan, but that doesn't mean simply getting great rates, great terms, but the experience itself, knowing that you've got that one-on-one communication. That's what you have with Don, Alex, Anthony Carricker, and others from the team, 7 days a week until 9 o'clock at night. And if they're working with someone else or happen to be at church or some sort of community function, as soon as possible, they're going to get right back to you. So you're not going to be left out in the cold. You're not going to talk to a random person at some call bank every time after entering 8 different prompts on your phone, including the last 4 numbers of your Social Security number, to get the personalized experience, along with the best terms and rates for your personal situation. It's iwantagreathomeloan.com, because you do. Mostly cloudy today, a slight chance of rain, high of 56, rain 42 tonight, rain 48 tomorrow, rain on Thursday, a high of 54. This hour we are talking about the panic of the elite, that in the upcoming school board elections in Springfield specifically, there is already a great fear that they are going to further lose their grip and the ability to continue to evolve the public school system into a political and social activist center in which they train young people, and that more community members and parents are going to get seats on the school board and redirected back to educating children. There was an indoctrination event in which students were pulled out of the Springfield Public School District. Cliff Smart allowed MSU to host this event, which was coordinated with the NAACP. That was, now they claim that it's to show the kids' benefit of higher education. Yet, amazingly enough, it's a lot of talk about victimhood. It's social activism is what it is. They're lying about what it is. During a Q&A portion in which Dr. M is, in the last hour, we played the audio of her explaining during the school board meeting last week what played out, how it occurred. She pointed out that there was this event in which this speaker, this moderator, told all of the kids that were primarily kids of color to all close their eyes and raise your hand if you've ever experienced any sort of racial trauma. And Dr. M, she wasn't one of the kids, so she didn't close her eyes. And she saw that about 1 out of 4 or 5 kids raised their hand. The vast majority did not. They were then told to open their eyes, and they were lied to and told that every single one of them raised their hands. So she would, during a period in which people were asking questions, she raises her hand, she's called upon, and she said, everyone, about 1 out of, or about 10 kids, or I forgot the exact verbiage, but pointed out that these kids did not all raise their hands. About 20% of them did. This has freaked out the establishment, because not that she noted that, but because they realized she saw what was going on. She saw that these kids were being pulled out of school and indoctrinated. And with the upcoming school board election, they're panicked. She almost immediately, gets a call from the news leader. Somebody called to let them know that she was being a disruptor. Amazingly enough, you have letters written by Cliff Smart of MSU and C.J. Davis of Burrell Behavioral Health, talking about how traumatic this was for the children. They're all in attack mode. Now, if you missed we'll have the podcast up if you missed any of the audio from the school board meeting last Tuesday in which this was discussed, and Dr. M was punished for informing the kids that they had been lied to, because we can't have that, of course. We'll pick up the audio where we left off.
Whenever it's necessary to protect children from whatever the hustlers are peddling.
What term did you use that set them off?
Peddlers that were peddling, those peddlers.
Who are you referring to?
I'm not done speaking.
Okay, I'm just wondering what you were. Peddlers. Okay. You can start where you were
Well, I was almost done. Danielle, I don't question myself for why I defended the truth. What I question is why nobody else does and nobody else did.
I would also like to ask Sharita, since you were the other
Kelly
person of
Byrne.
us that was there.
Yes.
I'm kind of interested in facts here because there's a lot of subjectivity on, you know, what's a disruption and who was offended or who space was violated or whatever. But as far as the facts are concerned, Miriam seemed to lay out just a factual basis of recounting these events. So do you disagree with anything that she said about how she described, I guess, the facts?
Yes, I do.
Can you point to any of
I
those?
kind of did already, but I'll recount them again. I can say that the way that she expressed that she said there were 7 people or 10 people raised their hand. It was very aggressive towards the presenter.
Now, I want to pause here because I want you to notice, and this is a tactic that is used by left-wing activists. And by the way, this is Sharita Thomas Tate, who also is employed by MSU and is also a board member of the NAACP, which was a part of this event. You see how all of this works? Now, board member Byrne is asking her factually, the facts that are laid out. Do you dispute them? To which she says yes. But if you listen, she doesn't dispute the facts. Her complaint here is she didn't like the way that she said it. She didn't like her tone. The tactic that is oftentimes used by the left-wing activist, which is oftentimes very effective, and she's an employee of MSU, so when it comes to communication, she knows how to do this well and successfully. You claim that you're going to counter it, and then you, with confidence, make statements that don't actually dispute the facts. And that's what she's doing here.
In a challenging way, and that was what disrupted the students. It's like, well, what's going on here? Otherwise, the students would have not even gotten upset about it. But it was the way that it was said. It was the disruption of this moment of them being vulnerable. You know, this idea that we have this YES conference, and these are seniors. They've been to YES for the last 3 years, and so they've experienced this opportunity for them to create this space for them to be in a room with other people who look like them and to express themselves. And then it being challenged by someone from the back. In this very aggressive kind of way.
She didn't like her tone and the fact that the students were upset, according to her, when they learned they were lied to. Now, forgetting who works for whom and the political activism component to this and the left-wing component to this, just the arguments as if this is a court of law. You have Dr. M on one hand saying, here's what happened. These are the facts what happened. The kids were told to close their eyes. They were told, raise your hand if you've been in this situation. A majority did not. Then they were told to open their eyes, and they were lied to and told every single one of you, raised your hand. That's how you know this is real. That's how you know what I'm telling you is the truth. And when called upon, Dr. M noted that that is not true. The defense, which would be school board member and MSU employee and member of NAACP, Sharita Thomas Tate, is that it was upsetting in her assessment to them when you revealed to them that they were lied to. Now, which of these two individuals do you think really has the best interest of the children in mind? Which of these two individuals? Just knowing this, their own arguments that they put forth during this school board meeting, do you feel most comfortable in trusting your child's educational future with? There's a couple minutes left of audio. I'll continue on.
The students expressed during the second time that we met with them, because they were still talking about it, that for some of them, it wasn't what was said. For some of them, it was how it was said. And they also were upset that after making the disruption, that she just left and didn't have the opportunity to engage with them, because now she's like telling them that the presenter is, you know, like, what was your point in saying that? Like, okay, there were 10 people. The students were upset that she left, didn't come back and to apologize from disrupting, because again, she left in 15, 20 minutes. The students are just talking. It's hard to get students back on track once they get off track. And so they were upset that she left, and they were upset by the way that she did that.
Thank you. I would like to echo what Steve said. I do think that there's something that, to me, the most important thing we're talking about here is that seems to be overlooked is, was there someone lying to our students? And I certainly don't condone that. Miriam's account of it seems to say that there was a lie, and
in her way of
I don't know that yours necessarily make.
Was her way of doing it appropriate? Was Miriam's way of addressing the lie appropriate in your opinion?
Well, all I know is the words that she said. So inflection is subjective. So all I know is the words that
if she asked the question to the presenter, is she challenged, or she had an alternate perspective of what the presenter presented, and she said,
reality is the reality is the reality. There's no alternate perspective of how many people raised their hand.
She didn't disagree with you. She said, okay.
Yes, she said okay. She did say okay.
Now, this, again, note, and not that you necessarily need me to pop in and commentate, but in case you're just picking up here and listening in, everybody's in agreement that the kids were lied to. Everyone is in agreement. No one is denying that. Even Sharita Thomas Tate, who's running for re-election, admits that the person who lied to the kids acknowledged that she lied to the kids. This is what is so remarkable and amazing about all of this, that everyone admits that these kids were pulled out of school, that when it comes to a setting where we're dealing with trauma, where they are supposed to be safe, there's not a single person that denies that they were being lied to about something that is significant, understand you. The lie, the whole premise of the lie, as was explained to them, this is how you know what I'm teaching you about trauma, about mental health trauma, about racial trauma is true, because there wasn't a single student here who hasn't experienced it, when a majority of the students who were told to close their eyes so that they could be lied to, a majority of the students did not raise their hands. You know, how on earth do you run a school district and tell students it's wrong to lie, it's wrong to manipulate, it's wrong to bully, it's wrong to cheat, yet all of these people, with the exception of the one who, in talking about the people that were there and involved, Dr. M's the only one who actually appears to project those same ethics and those same morals. You've got Sharita Thomas Tate that's fully acknowledging, yeah, we lied, manipulated to him. We're upset because you called us out. The president of MSU, Cliff Smart, in a letter sent to the Springfield School Board and superintendent, also defending this behavior and chastising the one person who said, no, it's wrong to lie to students. C.J. Davis, president and CEO of Burl. I mean, if there were any ethics or morals in the world of MSU, in the world of Burl, behavioral health, these people would lose their jobs. That they are the one person in all of this, Dr. M, who is standing up and saying, maybe we shouldn't lie to kids. And it's not a matter of them being indifferent to it. They are coming after her on full display. They are shameful people, shameful individuals. And the fact that these people are paid to have our young people in their care, it's a shame to our community. MSU should be ashamed. The NAACP should be ashamed. The Springfield Public School District should be ashamed. Borough Behavioral Health should be ashamed. The news leader should be ashamed for coordinating all of these stories to help set this narrative. Incidentally, there are 4 people running for school board. One of them, Sharita Thomas Tate, who's actively a part of this. Landon McCarter, who is siding with the students being told the truth. Chad Rollins, also a candidate, who is siding with the students being told the truth. Then you have Judy Bruner, who said, quote, "Since I have limited knowledge of the conference discussion and as a school board candidate, I've not been through training with the Missouri School Board Association. I'm unable to weigh in on the topic." So evidently, she has to have training to determine whether or not she feels that school districts should take children into atmospheres while talking about the context of mental health, whether or not they should be manipulated and lied to. She's not quite sure yet because she hasn't had the proper training. This is a former principal within the school district, by the way. And let me tell you, here's the insight on her. She's trying to play it safe because she has managed to get establishment local Republicans to promote her, but she is a left-wing activist. She promoted Black Lives Matter as a school. I mean, she is a political activist on the left. So this is why she's trying to, well, I don't really know whether or not you're supposed to lie and manipulate to students. I haven't been trained in that. All right, sorry for that audio kerfluffle. See what I've got going on. I think I've got to do another traffic update here. I'm kind of screwed with the clock on this issue. But I do want to just make a couple of other statements on this before we do wrap up the hour. I'd like to do it. If I don't have enough time, then I will carry it on into the next hour. We still do have another hour of the show. And, of course, all of this up in podcast form. I will note that Dr. M, who has demonstrated her priority being the education of students, as opposed to political indoctrination and social activism, was very instrumental in informing the community of what is going on in the school systems in the lead up to the last election. And we're going to have her come back and do the same thing again because it's been a very, very, very valuable tool. And she is being kind enough, despite all of the slings and arrows it brings her way, despite all of the massive target it puts on her, she has agreed to offer up those services once again. And so next Tuesday, in the 7 o'clock hour for a few weeks leading up to the next election, we will have discussions with her about, and it's not just about this stuff, but just some of the things that have been going on over the last couple of years, some of which are positive, by the way, because we need to know those things as well. A traffic update now. A couple of questions or notations on the American Transmissions Talk and Text line. One asking if we have the audio posted so that the link can be shared. We will have it up in podcast form, the show itself. But we'll. Can we just get the whole chunk of audio somewhere?
Yep,
Can we do
I'll
that?
put
Okay.
it as a podcast. So
Okay.
I'll make sure to send a link to those who texted and asking for it.
So here is another. This is an excellent observation. Would not the children who did not raise their hands know that they were lied to? The majority of the students did not raise their hands. They were told to open their eyes. After they opened their eyes, they were told, every one of you raise their hands. Now, you're one of the majority of students who did not. I'm sure afterwards they may have had this discussion with one another. But the immediate thought, I'm sure, is was I the only one? And you have to understand, in the narrative that's set, if you are not a victim, then you are a perpetrator, because this is all about victims versus perpetrators. And so not only if you are in this situation, the majority of those kids may have each thought they were the only one who did not raise their hand, which of course makes them part of the problem. What a great lesson for these young people. In a day and age where you really, really have to watch out for yourself, ultimately you are your first line of defense from people that have ulterior motives. Something that's been a bit of a theme, at least in the last hour. It's always so great when you come across someone who's honest and genuine. They're not shifty, and they're looking out for your best interest. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty, broker and owner of House Theory Realty, is one of those people. It's why for several years now, I've been recommending, as so many other people from, in fact, I know at least a couple of people that were on The Great Escape that have utilized her services, and why so many people recommend her. She's got your back. She looks out for you. She is a team of one. Some agents, they get really large, and they farm out a lot of the work, and you might meet them in the beginning, maybe never at all, or just at the closing, or get some sort of card, and that's fine if that's the direction you want to go. But if you want to know that you are going to be in constant communication with the person who is ultimately in charge of helping you sell your home or find that new home, and that whenever you have some sort of follow-up, they know, because they don't have to, I need to check with so-and-so and get filled in. Then you want Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. It's as simple as that. She's awesome. If you missed the last hour, I definitely recommend that you go back and listen to it on the podcast. The upcoming Springfield School Board election is so very important. The elites in the community are demonstrating that through their full-on attack of Dr. M. It is also showing the true colors of a number of people in the community, that because of, there's certain people, because of their relationship with the news leader, can do no wrong, and anytime they get any press, it's wonderful. And as far as anyone knows, they're just the most wonderful people in the world. No one ever says anything bad about them. They're so wonderful. We've got, unfortunately, with particularly the news leader, this sort of, it's almost like we live in a cult farm. And you have these cult leaders, and the cult leader has, or the cult council, if you will, has its own newspaper that goes out to all of the followers in the community. And so you always know you're going to hear wonderful things. It's like a newspaper in North Korea. The revelation of the manipulation and lying of these, and the defense of lying, to all of these Springfield students regarding racial trauma. I mean, that's the part. It would be one thing. And if you're just tuning in, you're not sure what I'm talking about, again, please go and listen to the podcast from the previous hour. This would be a different situation if Dr. M said, oh, here's what happened, and then everyone else is like, that's not what happened. No one is denying it happened. They're openly acknowledging they're mad because she informed the students that they were lied to. And council member Sharita Tate, she didn't like her tone of voice when she did it. Oh, well, excuse her. So much for really respecting women who stand up and alone for what's right. But joining this attack on her for informing students that they were lied to? The president of MSU? Is this because these events have been hosted by MSU and that they are housing this, they are facilitating this, so this exposes them as well? All of you who write checks as alumni to MSU, you need to keep this stuff in mind. Those that financially support Burrell Behavioral Health, they too are attacking the whistleblower who informed children that they were being lied to. This isn't a she said, they said. Everyone's in agreement here. This is a she said, and now they're attacking her for it. for exposing the truth. What message? I don't want to sound too, what does it say to the children? But for Pete's sakes, this is clearly an atmosphere. And these kids, if they're paying any attention, they're watching all of this play out. They are watching the CEO of Burrell Behavioral Health, the president of MSU, a school board member, Sharita Tate, who is also a member of the NAACP, employed by MSU, all defending lying to students. They see this. How do you then expect young people to live to a higher standard? How do you tell or punish students for cheating? I mean, that's essentially what was done to them. You had cheating going on in the context of lying, misleading young people into believing something that wasn't true. You're cheating the truth. And all of these administrators, all of these leaders of education in Springfield are supporting it. Oh, but we're going to tell kids not to cheat. We're going to tell kids to be honest and have great moral character. And the one person in this scenario who is actually demonstrating those characteristics is the one person that they're all trying to take down and destroy. This is what's going on in this community. And unfortunately, instead of the news leader acting as a watchdog for the citizens, for the young people in this community, they're participating in the takedown of the person who is demonstrating the human characteristics that we claim we want these young people to also demonstrate. What a great message to them. Students of Springfield, this is what happens when you stand up for what's right. Students of Springfield, this is what happens when you inform people who are being lied to that they're being duped. Students of Springfield, this is the treatment that you get from the majority of the members of the school board. From the president of MSU, from the CEO of Burrell Behavioral Health. This is how you get treated when you do what's right. What a tremendous culture that these people have cultivated for the young people in Springfield. And I've got to tell you something else that most people probably don't know. Those on the left, they love to feign this great respect and adoration for immigrants to this country. Talk about how they're the backbone, how we have so much to learn from them. I guess unless they stand up and do what's moral and ethical and right. You look at some of these elites. A lot of people may not know, Dr. M spent her young childhood, she's born in Iran. Her father was a general. Her mother was an educator. Relatively speaking, led a pretty good life in Iran. Then came the Islamic Revolution. Well, you know what that meant for her father? Prison time. She spent those young formative years visiting her father in prison. She spent those young formative years while not visiting her father in prison as a political prisoner in the middle of the night with her mother and brother hiding in underground garages as sirens would go off because of a war with Iran or with Iraq. This is a girl who one day was informed that the fighting age had been lowered to 14 in Iran, which happened to be the age of her brother. So she and her mother and her 14-year-old brother fled to the United States and started from absolutely nothing. But were grateful and felt an obligation. She, as a young person, got paper routes, did whatever job she could. Her mother, who was a respected educator, or worked for, I think she had a background in education, and she worked for some division of the government, took whatever job she could find, I believe a tailor, out in California. They worked fast food jobs, were grateful. At a young age, felt an obligation to be the best she could be to give back to this country. Family did it the legal way, became American citizens. Decided a great way to give back and help people is to become a doctor, and that's what she did. But did not stop there. Saw, as a parent, with great concern, things that were going on in this community. A time in her life where she could easily just sit back, kick her feet up, look at retirement, but decided she still wanted to give back to this country. And so she decided to run for school board. She didn't run for school board because she worked for Drury or worked for MSU or because she was in really good with the teachers' unions or because it was part of, the resume of prestige to be a Springfieldian. She had the audacity to do it because she wanted to create a better America for young people. And saw that the way to do that was to provide an atmosphere that was the best possible for young people to learn. And had the audacity when she saw that that wasn't what was occurring, and that, frankly, many of the school board members just fully acknowledge, yeah, test scores are down. That's just the way it is. No, that's not good enough. Why is this happening? And then most recently, attending an event and watching people that are supposed to be honest, people that are supposed to be helping children instead collectively, manipulating them, lying to them. And then she simply informed the students of that. And this is the treatment that she gets. A lot of people that get in these positions, it's a label. They do it for the prestige. It's part of the cultural elite of Springfield. Not her. She's simply a human being who came to America as a young girl, with her father imprisoned in her home country, and felt such a level of gratitude towards this country, wanting to contribute. And what is, again, so appalling to me is that you will have all these left-wingers that are attacking her, that are fully for open borders. Sure, we'll let the drug cartel come across. How dare you stop that from occurring? But someone like this, who is doing everything she desperately can to make this a better country, and this is the thanks that she gets? She is a sort of person that she has demonstrated through her actions. And I don't know her outside of the context of her being a school board member. But that, she is one that students should be told to look up to. not an individual that students are shown this is what happens in the Springfield public school system when you stand up and do what's right. We will destroy you. Jason Rima with the latest news update. First alert forecast, mostly cloudy with a slight chance of rain today. High of 56. Rain tonight, 42. 48 tomorrow. Rain on Thursday with a high of 54. One of the American Transmissions talk and text line noting that when Judy Bruner, she's former Central principal, part of the establishment who they're attempting to get in the next election on the school board. They noted that when she was principal of my school, one of the staff members harassed me, and Bruner did not do anything to solve the problem. In fact, the staff member is still working there after I graduated. I would not count on Judy Bruner getting much done. Now, we are going to, in the weeks leading up to the election, of course, we're going to talk more about the individuals that are running, because odds are the vast majority of you don't know who these people are. That's not on you. You know, it's just the nature of these particular races. But right now, that is one of it's very, very, very important that you recognize what's going on, because in this area, many of you are aware of the fact that left-wing activists recognize that in certain areas you have to pretend that you're a conservative, you have to pretend that you're a Republican. And there are many of those people that work within the, quote, Republican Party in this area, and they are supporting Judy Bruner, trying to pass her off as being some sort of conservative. She is not. It's this quiet propaganda campaign going on. That's why when she was asked by the news leader what she feels about Dr. M blowing the whistle and letting these students know that they were lied to, that she's like, well, I don't really know enough about it. She's doing as best as she can to fly under the radar, and the left-wing elements within the Republican Party in this area are attempting to help her do that. But again, as time goes on, we're going to focus more on this as we do get closer. Between now and the election. It's not obviously going to be an everyday thing, but it's something that we will be addressing as we do get to that. Because you can see there is a tremendous difference in approach here, a tremendous difference in a belief as to what school boards should be and what school districts should be. And this upcoming election is going to determine whether the two seats that are open are going to continue in the indoctrination direction, in which the people openly acknowledge that students are lied to, or the direction of utilizing schools to actually provide the education that young people need in this community. I've really mismanaged the last couple of hours in terms of, I call it the clock. That's when we have ads scheduled to play. So you're just going to have to be patient, forgive me, as went long stretches without. And so we'll have a little more than usual compacted together. Not more messages, just put together more closely than usual because I had moments of them spread apart quite a bit. Hey, we do have at KSGF.com some of those brilliant quotes from Joe Biden. It's a bracket. We did Trump nicknames last year. So this is sponsored by Pyramid Roofing. There is what I'm told is an awesome prize. I don't know if it's awesome. I'm guessing it's going to be a gift card of some sort, but it's a bracket. You go to KSGF.com and you can listen to the quotes and make your votes. And every week, I believe it'll be 3 weeks, that you complete it, you will get an entry into that drawing. And that is, again, at KSGF.com. Have you ever wanted to meet Sarah Myers? Well, you have the chance this Friday at Retro Metro,
That's
a happy
right.
hour, 4 to
I
6.
will be there with bells on. You can't miss me.
Yeah, and speaking of Sarah Myers.
Hey, that's me. You're like, who is that voice? Oh, it's me. Well, I'm going to tell you about my friends over at Beatles Property Maintenance. Now, I've been banned on Facebook. I've mentioned this quite a bit. I've only got a couple more days left, which my ban is really stupid. I can't post like live videos and just like regular videos. And the reason I mention that is because Beatles Property Maintenance, they recently redid my entire kitchen and it looks absolutely awesome. And I really want to share that with you. So I have to wait just a couple more days until I show you that transformation that the Beatles Property Maintenance team did. And I'll make sure to post that at ksgf.com and on the Facebook as well. But I'm also going to have Beatles Property Maintenance come back out to my house because since it is springtime, the husband and I, we love to be outside, and we have a deck and we need some work done to it. So that kind of goes to show you the variety of maintenance that Beatles Property Maintenance can do for you. Whether you have work that needs to be done in your kitchen or even outside like a deck, Beatles, they can help you out with that. So if you do find yourself needing a great company for home repairs and maintenance, look no further than Beatles Property Maintenance. You can find all of the contact information for Bruce and the Beatles Property Maintenance team at ksgf.com under the Sarah's Endorsements tab.
Go Beatles!
Beatles! B-E-A-D-L-E-S.
Coming up, audio of Peter Ducey, and I'm not sure if you've been following this. Did you know cranes could be spies?
Oh.
Not the bird, but actual cranes. 80% of the cranes that are used at ports to pull things off of the ships and put them over on land, 80% are built fully in China.
Huh.
And they have electronic devices on them that can allow for gathering of certain information. And I guess we've gotten to the point where we think maybe that's not a good idea. Peter Ducey asked Karine Jean-Pierre about it, and her response, which in a nutshell is, Biden has done a tremendous job demonstrating that he takes care of the American people so far, so there's no need to worry. That next. Chinese official accused the U.S. of being paranoid for expressing concern that shipping cranes manufactured in China could be used for espionage against the U.S. Well, clearly. I mean, why on earth? 80% of cranes currently in use at U.S. ports, including some used by our military, are manufactured by a Chinese state-owned company. I know this is going to sound like a crazy idea. Maybe we should stop doing this. Maybe we should stop relying on China for everything under the sun. Maybe we should stop allowing China, giving them money, paying them to develop devices that we then import into the United States that can be used to spy and gather information on American citizens. You think about it. How dumb are we as a country? Really, truly, ultimately, the number one danger to the world ultimately is China. It's not Russia, it's China. And the number one danger to the United States. We pay them We pay them to send devices, equipment over here into the United States that can then send information back to them about what we're doing in the United States. Can we be any more dumb? Are we just trying to hand them victory? This after General Milley, evidently, was the person behind allowing them to fly that spy balloon over all of our installations, gathering information, the same guy who assured them during the Trump administration he'd give them a heads up if ever we needed to launch a military attack against them so they wouldn't be caught off guard. And this guy's still in a position of power. We are operating in terms of our dealing with China. We are stupid as hell. Peter Ducey asking Karine Jean-Pierre about the level of concern we might need to have here in the United States with this crane issue.
How worried should Americans be about China spying on them here at home?
And what do you mean specifically, Peter?
Well, there were the Chinese spy balloons, and now there are these Chinese spy cranes. The Wall Street Journal is comparing them to Trojan horses in use at 80% of U.S. ports.
So let me first say that what the American people could be assured of is that this president is going to protect them and making sure that we put our national security first when it comes to anything that they feel could threaten that. And the president has shown that. He's shown that over and over again. So on the crane.
Where has he shown that exactly? This is right. Could you give some examples? Are you talking about the border? Do you know the Biden administration has admitted that they've lost track of 20,000 children that have been shipped across this border? Most of them, everybody's acknowledging sex trafficking. 20,000 children. The Chinese, originating from China, fentanyl, that they send to the drug cartels in order to have it shipped here into the United States, with the hundreds of thousands of Americans that are killed by it. Is that what she's talking about when she says Biden has demonstrated that he's making sure we're taken care of? The Americans that were left behind in Afghanistan, some of them children, to be no doubt taken as child brides by the Taliban? Is that what Jean-Pierre is talking about whenever she's saying, well, nobody has anything to worry about? I mean, Biden has demonstrated to the American people that he is in charge and taking care of them. Or the Chinese spy balloon. All of these brilliant examples that demonstrate why you and I should feel absolutely secure with Biden in charge. Well, incidentally, I don't have the story in front. North Korea is threatening us once again with, what is the exact? I have so many stories. North Korea threatens action after U.S. flies nuclear-capable B-52 bomber over Korean peninsula. Kim Yo-jong, that is Kim Jong-un's sister, said we keep our eye on the restless military moves by the U.S. forces and the South Korean puppet military and are always on standby to take appropriate, quick, and overwhelming action at any time according to our judgment. Adding that the demonstrative military moves and all sorts of rhetoric by the U.S. and South Korea, which go so extremely frantic as not to be overlooked, undoubtedly provide North Korea with conditions for being forced to do something to cope with them. I mean, thank goodness we got rid of Donald Trump. That reckless danger to not just the United States but the world, because this is all so much better. North Korea threatening nuclear annihilation. Iran minutes away, according to the United Nations experts and anyone else observing, minutes away from having the ability to create a nuclear weapon. Drug cartels controlling our border. essential brink of war between Russia and the United States in Ukraine, as that keeps ratcheting it up, the allowance of Chinese spy balloons over the United States. Thank goodness Trump is gone. Things have gotten so much better. The annoyance of Russia stopping their invasion of Ukraine. You know, they began it under Obama with the invasion of the Crimean Peninsula of Ukraine. Stopped what that was so annoying. ISIS losing their grip in Syria and Iraq. North Korea completely halting their testing of nuclear abilities and the advancement of nuclear capabilities. The complete stopping of the Taliban of attacking U.S. forces. The most secure border, according to Border Patrol agents, that they had seen in their lifetime. Historic peace deals being signed in the Middle East. NATO countries for the first time increasing their financial obligation. Yes. Oh, those horrific days of Donald Trump as president of the United States. Thank heavens we have the more stable hand of the Biden administration. A1 Custom Car Care for all of your car care needs. Your car may need a little extra care than others. This is actually something I learned recently with my truck, and just the year, the make and the model of my truck burns up oil a little faster than a lot of other vehicles. So that traditional 3,000 or 6,000 mile, depending on, if you have a new vehicle, or maybe you have this sort of vehicle, you don't even have to check the oil. You just take it in when it needs changed. But it's funny, the day I learned this, there was actually somebody who used to work at a Chevy facility. I have a Chevy Silverado. It's one of the vehicles we have. And he asked, he's like, is it a this year? I said, yeah. He goes, yep, I worked on those. And that year, the this and that causes it to burn up a little earlier. So how do you know? A1 Custom Car Care. When you take your vehicles in, they keep track of that stuff, and they let you know. That way you can keep on top of it and make sure that the life of your vehicle lasts as long as you want it to, as possible. A1 Custom Car Care. Speaking of vehicles, Subway enhances guest experience with plans to add electric vehicle charging oasis parks. Oh. Subway, one of the world's, I think this is the actual, is this the press release or a story built off the press release? Subway, one of the world's largest restaurant brands, and Gen Z EV Solutions, a leading provider of electric vehicle charging solutions, are partnering on an EV charging oasis of the future. Through the partnership, the brands envision a more seamless experience for EV drivers with the installation of Subway Oasis charging parks at select locations, charging canopies with multiple ports, picnic tables, Wi-Fi, restrooms, green space, even playgrounds. All part of a multi-year plan to roll out the Subway Oasis. Smaller format fast EV charging stations will be piloted at select new or newly remodeled restaurants across the U.S. starting in 2023. Mike Caput, Chief Operating and Insights Officer of Subway, said both initiatives are designed to offer added convenience for on-the-go guests while doing good for the planet. It doesn't do good for the planet. Electric vehicles do not do good for the planet. They don't. and they make us even more reliant on foreign countries. Think about this for a minute, and just straight up think, just honestly. I mean, we have the massive resources of oil, and the current administration has decided, of course, to diminish that. But we saw the panic of the world with the Russian war in Ukraine and Russia because they are a producer of energy to a degree. Right? We saw the panic. We saw, of course, there was already inflation components to gas prices, but then you had the speculation that the sanctions on Russia were going to cause these massive disruptions, and it's a reason that with the inflation that was already there, that we saw a continued increase in prices. And now that was with just a minimal amount of the world's energy coming from Russia. China controls the electric car battery industry in terms of the elements that are needed, whether they are in China or they're in areas of Africa that China control. We thought we saw problems before with supply chain issues. The current administration and Democrats, they want us to be 100% electric vehicles with batteries that come from China. What happens when China says, you know what, we're not giving them to you anymore, sorry. That's it. What happens? I mean, we're going to end up like Cuba. That's the position we're putting ourselves in, where there are no new vehicles. They're all really old vehicles. That is the position that the left is putting us in this country. Instead of making us less reliant on foreign countries, and of all the countries to make us more reliant on for transportation, China. But everyone said, and it helps the planet. No, it doesn't. Makes us less reliant on foreign countries. No, it doesn't. It makes us more. But here's a question I want, and I did not see in the story of the press release. Subway doing this, building these electric charging stations. Is this like so many other businesses that have the electric charging stations? You see them around grocery stores and other places. Are these charging stations going to be paid for by the people who own the vehicles? In other words, like when you go to a gas station. Or are the customers of Subway expected to pay for that electricity? I mean, because that doesn't seem like, really? I've got to subsidize their well, electric vehicles. They're cheaper to drive. Well, sure, if everybody else is paying for the electricity. Now, I don't know if so. I suspect, like they are at, again, a number of grocery stores and other places, that it's the customers who subsidize it, that you pay for it. Well, isn't that nice? That'd be nice if you could go to a restaurant and there's a gas pump there and just fill it up. And like, don't worry about it. We'll have someone else take care of it for you. Then I could brag, look how cheap it is to drive my gasoline vehicle. Aller Building Company, for all of your brand new home building needs. OLLER showroom floor. You can go in one building, one beautiful brand new facility in Ozark, and you can make that house your home, so no remodeling's needed. It's a beautiful thing. They've done great stuff over there, and I wasn't able to attend the open house a couple of weeks ago, but I was there the day before. I shot a video. In fact, you can go see that video. That's on 1041 Nick Reed's Facebook page, right? Is that what it is? Okay, so you can see that, get a sense as I'm walked around that showroom floor and see what it is that I'm talking about. Aller Building Company, OLLER. The last couple of weeks, Democrats have gotten very frustrated with Biden. You've got this situation in Washington, D.C., where Washington, D.C., the council there, was looking to pass legislation making it easier on criminals, specifically carjackers, because evidently crime is not high enough in Washington, D.C., and Democrats, they really are pro-crime. They're pro-crime. This is why they keep doing this stuff. And Republicans, constitutionally, there's certain authority that Congress is given to sort of override the local city council, because Congress does reside within the District of Columbia. And so Republicans were signaling, we're gonna override this thing, and Biden had essentially signaled to Democrats, hey, I'm on the side of the pro-crime side. And so you had a lot of Democrats in Congress hit out at Republicans, and then Biden does a switcheroo and says, oh, no, I'll support overriding the council. It's total chaos. Well, the way that Democrats have decided to deal with this is the council chairman has withdrawn the crime bill, so Democrats don't have to vote on it at all, because they're afraid that people will, once again see evidence that they are pro-crime. So this allows them to escape having to vote in a manner that puts them on record. See you tomorrow. I'm Nick Reed. Glenn Beck's next.